The struggle for women's rights is as old as humanity. Yet today we also see a new generation of human rights that are being defined literally at the speed of light. The issue of securing freedom in the digital age traces its roots to a computer scientist named Vinton Cerf. More than 30 years ago, he designed a revolutionary technology that allowed people to send packets of information over an electronic network, and then went on to co-create the architecture for the modern internet. Today, his innovations affect virtually every aspect of our lives. When Secretary Clinton came to the State Department, she recognized that as a result of these advances, it was becoming easier and less expensive to bring people together and unite them in civil society than at any time in human history. But she also knew that it would be critically important to secure the rights of free expression and association in the virtual world as well. The result was an entirely new field of diplomacy, 21st century statecraft, with the issue of internet freedom as its cornerstone. Vinton Cerf, now Google's vice president and chief internet evangelist, remains at the leading edge of this struggle. He is with us today, virtually, appropriately enough, to thank Secretary Clinton for her work securing the new frontiers of human rights. Ladies and gentlemen, Vinton Cerf.
Madam Secretary, I wish that I could join you tonight to celebrate this wonderful award. I can't think of anyone more deserving of the Lantos Award for Human Rights than you. From the very early days of your secretaryship, you spoke highly and strongly in favor of internet freedom, for the freedom of access to information, for freedom of expression. You fought for women's rights. You put U.S. policy into a perspective. You created the notion of digital diplomacy. You did so many things during the course of your time as Secretary of State. We're all deeply grateful for the commitment you've made all around the world to freedom of speech, for freedom of expression, for freedom of access to the internet. I wish I could be with you tonight, but I unfortunately have other commitments that keep me in Europe. I know that celebrations of this kind are really wonderful, and you will have many, many friends there who will join with everyone else to celebrate this wonderful award and this wonderful recognition of your achievements. I hope I'll have an opportunity sometime in the future to greet you again personally and to congratulate you. But in the meantime, please enjoy this wonderful recognition. You have earned every bit of it, every moment of it, and I know that your friends who are gathered around will tell you the same thing. Congratulations.
Good morning. I'm Katrina Lantos Swett, and like everyone else, I'm delighted to be here with you today. I would like to begin my remarks by recognizing some very special human rights leaders who are in our midst. We are so proud to have the 2012 Lantos Prize winner, Chen Guangcheng, and his family. Paul Rusesabagina, the hero of Hotel Rwanda, and the 2011 Lantos Prize laureate and his family. Madame Rabia Kadir, the acknowledged world leader of the persecuted Uyghur Muslims of China, and Yan Zhanli, one of the original Tiananmen Square democracy leaders. Please stand, and I'd like you all to please join me in welcoming them. We are proud and honored by your presence. As has already been mentioned, it is both poignant and very fitting that our prize ceremony should take place just a day after the passing of Nelson Mandela. So many eloquent words have been spoken about his towering and triumphant life. His successful leadership of the anti-apartheid movement in South Africa is one of the defining human rights battles of the last century, and I hope we will all sense his unconquerable spirit here with us today. This is, as has been noted, the 5th year that the Lantos Foundation is awarding the Lantos Human Rights Prize. This is an important milestone in the life of our young organization, and we take particular satisfaction in bestowing the prize for the first time this year to a woman. And no ordinary woman is she. The brilliant Danish theologian and philosopher Søren Kierkegaard once wrote, "Life can only be understood backwards, but it must be lived forwards." We are proud to be bestowing our highest award on someone whose life has been characterized by an unflagging determination to live forward. Hillary Clinton's commitment to build a better world has transformed our vision of what is possible and what is essential for people in every corner of the world. And while her eyes are firmly fixed forward on the future, I would like to take a moment to look backward to understand what has made her one of the most consequential and groundbreaking leaders of our time. But first, a quick story. For those of you who knew my father, you know he could be a person of surprising contradictions. He had an old-world elegance and even courtliness about him that could sometimes be mistaken for a genteel kind of male chauvinism. And yet, that would have been a very mistaken conclusion. Tom Lantos was an ardent advocate of women's full equality and rights. In fact, there's a rather amusing story from his first months in the United States many decades ago that captures my father's view in this regard. Dad was a student at the University of Washington in Seattle when he was invited to come on a small local radio program that did interviews with different individuals from the community. He was very excited and flattered by this opportunity, but the interview itself unfolded in a pretty predictable and rather dull fashion until the very end. The interviewer asked his young Hungarian guest if he could summarize in the last 10 seconds one single thing that he particularly admired about America. Dad wanted to say that he was really impressed by the greater freedom, confidence, and engagement of American women as compared to the much more constrained lives of the women and girls he had seen in Hungary growing up. But knowing he had just a few seconds to share this thought, and not yet being fully conversant with American expressions, my father responded that what he liked most about America was loose women. Well, as you can imagine, the interviewer was horrified. My father was mortified, aware that he had made a big faux pas, although not fully understanding what it was. He was unceremoniously hustled off the set and thought that was the end of it, the end of everything, including any possibility of a future public life. But a few weeks later, he was surprised to receive a warm letter from the station manager, thanking him profusely for his appearance on the show. As he explained, until my father's appearance on their program, they really didn't know if anyone was actually listening to the station. But after Dad's appearance, the outpouring of outraged letters and phone calls and visits in person persuaded them that they actually had quite a large listenership. My father's expression may have been inartful, but he was onto something crucial. The freedom, opportunity, equality, and empowerment of women and girls remains, in Hillary Clinton's words, the greatest unfinished business of the 21st century. And there is no single individual who has done more to advance this cause than Hillary Rodham Clinton. From her days as a standout student at Wellesley College to her work as an attorney and advocate, as First Lady of the United States Senator, and then Secretary of State, women's rights have been Hillary's passion. Mrs. Clinton's leadership on women's rights has been both inspirational and entirely pragmatic. When Hillary went to Beijing in 1995 and made the simple, powerful, and inarguable case that women's rights are human rights and human rights are women's rights once and for all, the effect was electrifying. Never before had a person of her prominence spoken out with such boldness and clarity on the appalling circumstances of women around the world. But important and eloquent as her words have been, Hillary's leadership has never been primarily about her talk. Mrs. Clinton has been involved in concrete initiatives aimed at making the social and economic equality of women and girls a reality around the world. These programs include efforts to expand women-owned businesses, to provide quality education and health care to girls in the developing world, including vital technology education, and to confront and expose the terrible abuse that women are still subjected to around this globe. This is one woman who has never shied away from the hard work and pragmatic follow-through needed to make her bold vision of women's equality a reality. Hillary doesn't take a break, she doesn't drop the ball, and she doesn't leave the job to others. She rolls up her sleeves and gets to work transforming lives. And the possibilities for girls in every part of the world has been broadened and deepened because of Hillary Clinton. Another way in which Hillary's vision of human rights has been focused on living forward has been her groundbreaking leadership on the emerging fight for global internet freedom. This new frontier of human rights aims to tear down the firewalls behind which closed societies seek to isolate their people. One need not look back far in history to see the clear analogy to another set of dictators who sought to imprison their people behind an iron curtain. Hillary Clinton has said to the dictators of the 21st century, tear down these walls. And under her leadership, a multi-pronged strategy to advance internet freedom has become a key priority of American foreign policy. I'd like to close my remarks today with a personal Hillary story, one that I shared with my youngest daughter, Sunday, who is with me here today. The two of us were watching on TV as Hillary Clinton delivered a speech. I didn't intend to, but as I listened, a few tears began to roll down my cheeks, and out of the corner of my eye, I saw Sunday glance over, and seeing her mother crying, she began to listen more intently to the TV. Hillary was recounting the courage of those who, when facing impossible odds, chose to defy those odds and never give up. People like Nelson Mandela, people like my father. She quoted the advice of Harriet Tubman, who had risked her life to guide slaves to freedom along the Underground Railroad. Harriet had said, "If you hear the dogs, keep going. If you see the torches in the woods, keep going. If they're shouting after you, keep going. Don't ever stop. Keep going. If you want a taste of freedom, keep going." When I glanced over at Sunday, she was now the one with tears in her eyes. We are here today to recognize Hillary Clinton and to thank her for her determination to always keep going in the long journey towards freedom, equality, human rights, and justice for all of God's children. And Hillary, we are following right behind. Thank you.